Welcome to today's live stream. In today's live stream, we're gonna look at this beauty. It's the A340-600, which has been released yesterday by Aerosoft. This aircraft is also called as the, also known as the longest giant. And we're gonna first look at, I would say, some history of the aircraft before really jumping into the aircraft. So the aircraft is a little bit special because, as the title already says, it's hedging against the ocean with parallel development, because both the A300 and A320 share the fuselage and flight deck technique. If we look at Path A and Path B, you can see that there is, I would say, a lot of commonalities, except that if we look at the A330, which is the twin jet hatch, it had two engines with lower cost, medium hull and original routes where the ETOPS, right, the extended range twin engine operational performance standards, restrictions did not apply. However, for the A340, that was a little bit different. It had four engines, and that was to bypass the early ETOPS restrictions entirely, allowing unrestricted ultra-hull routings over the oceans. And that's what you also see if you look up the routes which this aircraft flies. It are pretty long, I'd say, flights. And this was directly, I'd say, a competitor for the Boeing 747. If we look at the insides, it was super smart because due to the sharing of the fuselage and the flight deck, they saved billions in research and development, but fundamentally tethered the A340's operational fate to pre-ETOPS regulatory worldview. This is the aircraft. You can see it's a big one. It's more than 75 meters long. It's the longest passenger airline in the world from 2002 until the Boeing 747-8, which was released in 2010. It's 1.5 meters longer than today's A350-1000. The wingspan in total, 63 meters, and the power plant, that was on the aircraft powered by four Rolls-Royce Trent 55661 turbofans. Maximum takeoff weight, 368 tons for the standard one and 380 tons for the high cross weight variant, so two variants. Range, pretty impressive, more than 14,000 kilometers, right? That's a lot. There was something which is special, or there is something special, because the aircraft still exists, right? It's still flying. It required a central four-wheel main gear bogie to distribute the massive fuselage weight, because it was really heavy. Of course, due to the length, this aircraft also has its challenges. The first thing, which is the challenge, is the extreme fuselage length, which creates the severe operational limits during rotation, right? The takeoff pitch. Because you can see that practically the 6.7 degrees operational climbing rate, that's pretty good. And that also ensures a safe clearance. 8.5 is really the maximum before the rear fuselage strikes the runway. Tail strikes. You don't want to have them. This has a major operational impact because the shallow rotation angle, it forces this aircraft to require significantly longer runways and demands high precise manual flying techniques from the flight crew. Well, let's see if we are also facing that in Flight Simulator. Looking at the engines, on the left side we see the A340-600, four engines built on a philosophy of redundancy, provided zero oceanic routing restrictions, exceptional performance at high altitude, hot weather airports, and it was a platform to replace the old 747-200 and 300s. Boeing was also developing there, right? They released these 777-300 Echo Romeo. That was built on the philosophy of efficiency. Because the ETOPS regulations expanded, become more strict, the 777 proved it could fly the exact same oceanic routes safely with two massive engines, fundamentally changing the airline economics. These are both aircrafts, and I would say put next to each other, where you see that the fuel burn per hour is of course much higher for the A340-600, as well as if you look at the passenger fuel efficiency, that's also why the Boeing wins, right? Boeing wins there massively. If we look at the capital and lease cost, well, the A340 wins because it was millions cheaper per month as demand dropped heavily, offsetting the fuel penalties. And for the 777, there was premium lease rates due to the high market demand, right? A lot of airliners want to have that 777. If we look at the hot and high airport performance, then the 330 also wins, right? 4 engines lose less combined thrust at high altitudes and temperatures. For example, if you fly to Johannesburg. But there's also that maintenance cost, because if you've got 4 engines, it also results in more maintenance, right? 4 engines, they are not only using more fuel. Because in modern aviation, airliners lease thrust by hour. The maintenance economics of a quad jet create a compounding financial burden. 2 times the physical failure point, resulting in higher technical dispatch delays, 2 times the spare parts inventory required at global outstations, and 2 times the overall capital and mechanic man-hours required, heavy checks. But it also had this hidden superpower, and that's the massive belly volume. Right, the sheer length of the A340-600 provided airlines with 25% more cargo volume than the Boeing 747-400, turning passenger routes into highly lucrative freight channels. Here you can see, I would say, an overview, right? It offers over 60,000 lbs of remaining structural payload specifically for cargo, after accounting for a full passenger load and baggage. Some data insights: it takes you roughly 4 to 5 daily passenger flights of a A340-600 to equal the total volume of the A330-200 freighter, a dedicated freighter. But of course, let's say, why would you buy a complete dedicated freighter if you can do the same thing with the A340-600? Although it takes a little bit longer. Last slide, right? In 2002, the A340-600 officially enters the commercial market, where the launch partner was Virgin Atlantic. In the mid-2000s, then where the global fuel prices surged dramatically, right? The 777-300 improves ultra reliability under the new ETOPS frameworks, and in 2011, the recognizing the permanent market shift towards twin jets, officially Airbus ceased the production of the A330. These are the current airlines which are currently flying with the A330, right? Lufthansa has 6 of them. And then we also have some other airliners still using these aircrafts as we speak. But there also are some private, such as government and VIPs, as well as the Acme. They use those airliners, right? They're leasing them, and they're, let's say, they lease them like High Fly Malta, which leases to other airlines. But enough spoken about this, let's switch to Flight Simulator, because that's where everybody is looking for. And here we are in Flight Simulator 2024, because I'm using 2024 to showcase this aircraft. I'm gonna first look at the liveries. So let's see if that works, because we're using the beta version of Flight Simulator. Always a challenge. Let me see. No, it crashes. That's all. That's not what I wanted, my friends. Crashing Flight Simulator with sim update number 5. This is definitely not what you want. But hey, that's the risk of, I would say, attending a beta or being part of the beta. So let me start Flight Simulator 2024 again. So to keep you a little bit, I would say, entertaining, the aircraft comes with multiple liveries. And the multiple liveries are the ones from Lufthansa. There are some other nice liveries. There's also, of course, the Aerosoft livery. And this aircraft, I would say, is released yesterday by Aerosoft. Unfortunately, Flight Simulator just crashed, so let me, I would say, talk, and then let's see how quick it is before it launches. And then we're going to deep dive into the aircraft itself. We're going to look at deliveries, we're going to look at the exterior review, we're going to do the interior review, and then of course we're going to look at how we can get this thing in the air, because that's what you're waiting for. At least that's what I guess. So, few minutes, right? Flight Simulator is just starting. It has just crashed due to, I'd say, sim update number 5. So let's see, it's loading, it's activating the packages already. So keep in mind, we will start very soon because Flight Simulator did crash. Yes, that's the risk of using sim update number 5. Just sending out a poll, who's in sim update number 5 currently, who's using it? trying to create some interaction, so feel free to react in the chat. Always nice to chat with all the watchers. We're gonna start testing the aircraft really soon. But Flight Simulator did crash, so let me start it again. Right, I'm using the beta, so I shouldn't complain, but just to set the expectations. This aircraft, you can only buy it currently via the Aerosoft web store. Keep that in mind, and then you need to install it. I don't think it's available for the Xbox yet, but maybe it will come very soon. Let's see. I can see a nice intro. Flight Simulator without sound. Yes, without sound, because else would say I got some copyright claims from Asobo most cases. So let's hit that start button. Let's hit free flight, because this is where we're coming for, right? We can see that I already selected the aircraft, so I'm gonna go to the liveries, and that's in the configuration pane. So in the configuration pane, you see the aircraft. There's not much you can change here, right? There's the landing surface, the cruise speed, the maximum speed, and the range. And then you've got the liveries. The default one is the Aerosoft livery, but there are more liveries. One of the things which I observed was that is really slow, right? It's really sluggish, but that's due to simulator number 5. So we've got the old Lufthansa livery, and we've got the new Lufthansa livery. We've got Virgin Atlantic Airlines. This was the first airliner who uses aircraft. Then we've got Osman Air. We've got Etihad Air. Iberia. We've got Qatar Airways. South African Airways. Thai Airways. Azerbaijan Airways. Cathay Pacific Air, not Airways, Cathay Pacific, China Eastern Airlines, Hainan Airlines, Plus Ultra, Sky Prime, Convesa, Mahan Air, and then as last one, the Universal Sky Carrier. So I'm gonna use the Lufthansa one, all right, the Lufthansa new one, and I'm gonna walk you through these menus, right? There's nothing different compared to other aircraft, right? We've got the view, we've got the mass, which you can manage using the EFBs, and we've got the identification. So that's all I said. So nothing more do we need to do, except of course loading the flight plan. Now what I did for fun is I loaded a flight, or I created a flight from Seattle to Frankfurt, because that's where this aircraft is being used for on a daily basis. So we're going to generate the flight plan, and then we're going to make sure that we're, let's say, kind of importing the flight plan, but not entirely, not in the aircraft, but making sure that Flight Simulator recognizes this, and also import the weights, because that saves us some time. After this, we're gonna put the aircraft, well, likely on Seattle, right? On Seattle Tacoma International Airport. That's where we're gonna start. But of course, we're gonna start on, I would say, one of those, likely those parking spots, or maybe even the some of the gates. Making sure that the ATC is also notified about this, because else I would say it will go crazy. We're gonna close this one, and we're gonna say not runway 16 Lima, but we're gonna set it at gateway gate S2 heavy, which is our starting point. And then we're going to hit start, because we want to see how the aircraft looks like. So again, we're going to use the Lufthansa livery on the A330. We're going to fly from Seattle to Frankfurt. But first we're going to do the full review. Don't worry about that. We're not going to simply fly. We also want to look at how the aircraft has been modeled. If you got a specific part which you want me to show, then let me know via the chat. I keep an eye on the chat, and then I would say I will zoom into that part if needed. If I did miss it, of course. So feel free to chat. Happy to react. So let's go. Let's go with the A340-600. Super nice aircraft. Nice thing is that it comes with multiple liveries, which we just discussed. So you don't need to buy those additional liveries as you see with some other vendors which are releasing aircrafts. So that's what I always like, right? I always like to have the liveries included. Likely there will be some livery packs being released, but that will maybe take some time. For those who are wondering what kind of hardware we're using, in this case we're using the wing control, or also known as wing sim, say A320 2-time throttle, or the Airbus throttle. We're using the wing sim Ursa Minor joystick, and we're having that MCDU. Bad thing about the MCDU doesn't work with this aircraft. No limitation, Asobo confirmed it, they're working on something. So let's see how quickly they fix that. So we're going to click ready to fly. This is for you also new, because this is sim update number 5, right? You don't have that, maybe, or you may have it. So this is the aircraft. The cool thing is that the door is always open. I think this is a bug which they need to fix. Let's say have a look. Let's have a look and walk around. Here we can see the aircraft, right? What I always like to show you is the wear and tear. The wear and tear here is super nice. You can see that the aircraft is not clean, it's being used. And down here we've got those engines, 2 of them on the left side and 2 of them on the right side. Let's have a look into those engines to see how nicely they are modeled, because I'm always curious about this. If you want to show me a specific thing of the aircraft, let me know. Here you can see the aircraft, super nicely modeled. You can also open those doors if I'm correct, if you're in the correct way. I'm not sure if we can do it right now, but you can also, let's say, open the doors based on some screenshots I saw. Not sure how I need to do that, but hey, have a look at this, right? Also those warnings here, super nice. Then we've got those wheels, right, which I already mentioned in the presentation. We've got 2 on the front, but you can see that the aircraft has 1, 2, 3 on the back, even 1 in the center. That's due to the weight of the aircraft, to prevent that, I would say, the fuselage, right, which is this part of the aircraft. It's the whole, let's say, main part of the aircraft. It's super heavy, right, because it's super long. You can also see that the wear and tear on the wheels, also super cool, super nicely modeled. Also here we can see the gear, right? Well, maybe someone needs to look at this, right? And let's see if it performs some tail strikes. Well, it looks like this one performs some tail strikes. So also super cool. Then the other thing which I do think it's a bug is that the freighter room is still open, or the cargo door is open, which is, let's say, not completely nice. And then of course we've got the other side of the aircraft. Now of course we can also look inside the aircraft, and we're going to do that using the drone mode. So let me switch to the drone mode, and then let's see if we can look into the cargo room and also look at some other stuff. But to do that, there's a new thing. I first need to go inside the aircraft, and then I can go outside the aircraft again using the showcase functionality. And here we go. So we're gonna say fly pretty soft, right? Here's the back end of the aircraft. Here's the back of the aircraft. You can see this is also super nicely modeled. We can see the reflection. We can see the Lufthansa logo. We can see the doors here. And this is that cargo part, right? This is the cargo part which we also discussed, which is really large in these aircrafts. You can, I would say, add a lot of cargo to it, which is super nice. Now if we move a little bit further to the front, we can see also the doors on this end. We can see the usage on this end. We can see this is the Mönchengladbach livery. And then on this part, we also have the same cargo doors. Also looks super cool. But now we of course want to go inside the aircraft. Well, the nice thing about the drone is that you can, I would say, fly through things. So let's do that. Let me also decrease the speed a bit because we're going a little bit fast. This is better, right? Even though I think this is too fast. This is better. So let me go inside the aircraft. This is how the aircraft looks at the inside, right? The A340, so 340-600. And you can see that it's super nicely modeled. It contains these nice screens which are on. It contains the safety cards. It contains some other, I would say, documents. And it's super cool. Now if we go to the back, we are hitting the wall, because here we can see that the curtain is closed because the stewards would like to have some safe space. And also here you can see everything is super nicely modeled. A lot of room, even though, say, the lights are burning. And then we can go again to the curtains, and then we are back in the passenger side. Of course, we can also look further inside the aircraft because there's more. There's more inside the aircraft because we also have the curtains over here. You can see also the kitchen area and the doors over here. Right, also this part, super nicely done, I would say, really kudos. And then we can also go downstairs. Go downstairs, that's what I didn't figure out yet. Because here you've got a lot of lavatories. Even I would say going also, you can't go here, you can't smoke. No, we know you're not allowed to smoke anywhere anymore. But the toilets are here, right? Which is really special. So if you see also this is also a little bit weird because you will fly into it. But it's cool. Here it says close and latch doors for taxi, right? No trolling parking. No, pretty wisely. And then we're continuing. We're continuing our travel to the front. And this will take some time because this is a really long aircraft, right? It's the longest aircraft, I would say until 2010, right? Where the Boeing 747 was introduced again, a new variant, which bypassed the length of this one. But it still is a pretty lengthy one. So, really cool. Then we're coming to the next part of the aircraft. Because it's so large, it has a lot of kitchen areas where people can get some drinks, where stewards can do some things. And then, of course, the door is open, always nice. And look how high this is, right? Really scary. So let's go quickly back to the front, because we're almost at the front. Because we arrived at the Lufthansa business class. You can see also the chairs here are a little bit different compared to the, let's say, economy class. Also super nicely modeled. Look at this. Completely in Lufthansa style. And then we are at first class. Our first class, it's even nicer, right? You get, say, you can sit here, right? Now, if you never did fly, let's say first class, this is your chance, because now you can fly first class in an A330 in Flight Simulator 2024. Also a lot of details here. You can see that it has the hotspot, GSM. Also the lavatory is here. And then the seats, of course. And then we're entering the cockpit, right? So cockpit, crew only. Well, fine for you. We're going in. So this is the cockpit. You can see that the cockpit is also massive, right? For those who are used to flying an A320, you can see the same, I would say, color style. You can see the same instruments are there. You can see some parts have already started. On the left and the right side, we can see the EFB, which is completely customized by Asobo, not by Asobo, by Aerosoft. It's the Aerosoft EFB, and it has a lot of instruments. If we look here, we can see all those known suspects. We can see the cockpit doors, we can see the parking brake, we can see the rudder trim, the engine starts, of course, we can see the flaps, the speed brakes, the lights, navigation components, the MCDUs, and in front of us we can see the central pane with the vertical horizon. We can see the doors which are open and closing. We can see the landing gear, the auto brakes, and on this part we can see the part of the co-pilot, right? All those nice buttons. We can see the controller, and on the left side we see exactly the same instruments, including the thing to manage the wheel, right? The wheel is managed by this instrument. Keep that in mind, because else taxiing will be pretty hard in some cases. And then, of course, we've got the EFB, right? The EFB, we're going to look at that one because this is, I would say, super interesting. But to do that, we need to go to a different view. So let me change the view here. Let's switch to the cockpit view. Because this is a special EFB. It contains so many options, as you can see. It contains the Navigraph, it contains the SimBrief, right? If you activated Navigraph, you first need to log in the first time. You can see all the maps. You can do the logout, you can search for airports, you can choose between the different charts. You can zoom in out and out, you can set it to night mode, light mode. And then, of course, we've got the SimBrief, where we can say, hey, download the OFP. This is a one-time setup only, where you need to put in your SimBrief ID, which is the digital number. Once you've done that, you should be able to load the flight plan and see the flight plan which you planned using SimBrief. Here you can also see that you can say, okay, hey, I want to ignore the air AC type mismatch. I can set the payload plus the fuel to SimBrief, and always use the SimBrief wins, and you can reset it. Based on this, you can also say active OFP. You can download the active plan OFP via the MCDU init page. So that's something we're going to do. Right, this is the OFP load here. Then we're coming to the weight and balance. In the weight and balance, exactly the same. You can see the estimates, and you can see the maximum for the zero fuel weight, for the maximum takeoff weight, for the landing weight, at least I do think that stands for landing weight, and the center of gravity, super important. We can configure the number of passengers, the forward cargo, the after cargo. Well, you can see that in this case, the aircraft is not really populated, so it's a pretty expensive flight for Lufthansa. Then we've got the fuel on board, which we need, and we can say load current values, or you can say uses MCDU block fuel if engines are off, right? That's also important. Takeoff performance. This is to calculate the takeoff performance, so you can specify the runway. You can, after you did that, right, you can say compute. Here it says not computed, which simply means, hey, we didn't put in anything yet. Of course, here we need to put in the, I would say the airport. Whoa. And then I press the wrong button, right? So you can say, let's do that. And then we can likely put in the runway, right? But in this case, I'm going to press enter. You can see it automatically populates. In this case, also some other things are happening. You can see the windsock has loaded, and then we can press compute, which automatically computes everything for us. So super nice tool, which is built into the EFB from, in this case, Aerosoft. Landing performance, similar thing, but of course you need to only do that for landing. And then you've got the checklist. So the checklist is both built in here, but it's also in the EFB. So if you press tab, you can go to the aircraft. Then you go to the checklist, and that's where you see the EFB. But you can see that the EFB is empty. Yes, that's a pity. I know. I also expected that the EFB is here, but it's not here. It's only here. So that will be kind of a challenge, because you need to go from left to right? Checking all these things, which is a lot of work. But we're going to look at that. Then the credits simply is, okay, with funding from the Federal Ministry of Research and Technology and Space from Germany. So thank you for sponsoring this, creation. And then we've got the startup situations, because you can do multiple startup situations. You can already say, hey, I want to start up the aircraft completely, or you want to make it ready for taxiing. And these are all the, I would say, situations which are included. So you can see a lot of them are there, right? Auto save situation, failure damage, hydraulic damage, something with the wind shear, engine failures, a lot of cool things, and you can simply activate them. Then the AC config, right, the aircraft config, sync borrow settings, simplify terrain on or off. You can all do that using these buttons over here. You can increase the sim rate. You can change the aircraft configuration, such as the weight variant, the Imperial units, auto nav on GA, and don't forget to hit the save config button. From the same panel, we can configure the ground surfaces. So which ground surface do we want to use? We can switch on the external and internal power, high pressure air, the chocks. We can automatically start the pushback from here, quick de-icing. We can open and close the doors if you wanted to do that. Or you can leave them to auto, which automatically opens and closes them. Fault scenarios, name already tells it what happens, right? Should we add some failure scenarios? You can do that by pressing the add new fault, and then select the fault which will happen, right? Engine 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you define the time. It can be randomly, and then it's up to you to figure out what goes wrong and say continue to fly or decide to land. Then the sound settings, all of them are by default like this. There's 3D sound fading. You can also activate the replay mode if you want, and you can do some debugging, but that's say likely only if instructed by support, as mentioned here. Then we've got the joysticks. And for the joysticks, I posted a video yesterday already about how to configure the throttle for this aircraft, because it's kind of, well, it's not complicated, but it's, let's say, you need to take into account a few steps, because it has, of course, 4 engines, and it could be that you only have 1 or 2 throttles. In that case, you need to make some changes. This is for the wing control throttle. and I will show you how I configured it. And then of course we've got the settings where you can define all these kind of things. You can also configure the Hoppy CPDLC logon if you want. But for now we're going to go to the checklist. But before doing that, I'm going to show you quickly the controls. So press escape and then go to the settings, and inside the settings you will see the controls. And the controls, in this case, what I did is I created a special profile due to those 4 engines in the aircraft. So let me change this one also to the correct one. So airliner, general controls, and the airline controls. These are the say assignments I did for the joystick, right? Simply, most of the things are really easy. And then the throttle, what I did is I combined engine 3 and 4 and engine number 1 and 2 in a special profile. If you want to download the settings, good news for you, go to the website where you can download these profiles which are ready for you, and then you can take off. So we're going to fly from Seattle to Frankfurt. We're going to do the full flight, of course, because then we're here until tomorrow morning, and that's not the plan. But what I want to show you is we're going to simply go to the checklist. We're going to see, say, discover the aircraft together and then see what happens. Well, first thing, we're going to make sure that the engines are off, right? Everything is off. The MOS switch is set to normal. And then we do it like this. We set the check marks. Now, for those who are just checking in, no, the EFB from Flight Simulator 2024 doesn't have the EFB. Or it doesn't have the checklist, sorry. The checklist is only included in this EFB. Then the landing gear, white, it's also down, it's good. Then the battery 1 and 2, check off, right? This is again a hard thing, right? Because now you need to figure out where all those things are manually, but likely they are here somewhere on the top, right? Here we can see the batteries. So let's see if we are in the correct state. I don't think so. Is it correct? Battery 1 and 2. Well, maybe we should discover those quick buttons, but let's do that. Then the volt check should be above 25%. The volt check, you can likely see it over here somewhere. Let's also do that. Let's go inside here. Let's go to the electrical systems, which will likely show us a little bit more information about the batteries. You can see the external XB and XA. That's fine. Do we see the batteries? Always a good question. Bleed not, pressure not. I'm pretty sure that it should be somewhere here. View, flight control, the wheels good, doors are good. APUs are good. Oh, I do think that still needs to be here somewhere. Probably I'm overlooking it, but I would expect the batteries to be somewhere over here. So that's the hard part between brackets, because right there's nothing here. Oh, I overlooked it. How simple can it be, right? It's on the top. Over here we can see the batteries. They're off, as you can see. 29.2, which is in line with the recommendations. Then we can say, okay, hey, battery 1, 2, APU battery. That's over here. This button over here, which we'll see. You can set it to auto if you want. Currently it's set to battery number 1, and that's also fine if you ask me. Here we can see also some lights are burning, some faults are burning, but that will be fixed in a few seconds. Let me, come on, click. And then of course we need to click these items, and then the APU fire. Right, you can't click on these items. So for those who are new to Flight Simulator, this is definitely not a starter aircraft. Well, maybe it is, but you need to figure out a lot yourself. There's not those easy buttons over where you can click on the eye icon and see those items. So can also see which quick buttons are there, right? So this is shift 1, shift 2, shift 3, shift 4, shift 5, shift 6, shift 7, 8. And that's where we end up here, right? That's where we want to be, because here we can see the fire, right? We can say push it. That's good. We can test the fire alarms, of course, if we want. And then we can go to shift 9, which brings us here. Same thing. So good. So shift 9, again, brings us here. So the APU master. Then we need to figure out where the APU is. Who knows where the APU is? Well, let's figure out the APU master switch over here. So we're going to press this option, and then some things will likely start to happen really soon. Let me go back to the EFB. Now we need to make sure that the APU start has been set. But to make sure that we're going to check the APU, because that's something which we need to keep in mind, right? We're going to press the electric one. We're going to make sure that the APU has started correctly, because that's what we need. And the APU can be found over here. It might take some time before it started. Might. Maybe it's because we didn't start the battery. I'm thinking out loud. Let's see. So let's go. Can see that the batteries are still off, right? Which is kind of weird. Oh, they're still on. You can see that the, say, selecting the batteries is kind of hard. So the AC is on. Should be good, right? Should be good. And here you can see the different stages, right? If you switch this button, you can see the different stages of the, let's say, thing, of the item, the battery, sorry. So we're good. It's also on. Why can't I start the APU? Why can't I start the APU, my friends? I'm puzzled. So let's do that. APU start when APU is available. External power. You can also set the external power, right? That might be easier. Because it looks like that this doesn't do a lot, right? Probably I missed something. And I'm really, I'll say, I'm pointing to myself, right? Because I'm always, say, forgetting something over here. So let's see if I did something wrong. Everything is correct here, right? Everything is correct here. External A, that's good. The AC buses are okay. Then here we see some errors, which is not good, but we will fix that later on. I'm checking which ones I missed, because I likely missed something. And if I missed something, I want to know what I missed. But not for too long, because, hey, we're live streaming and we also want to see how the aircraft flies, of course. Let me double check what I missed. So let's hit the buttons over here so we can look at the, come on, this screen. Gonna look at the electrical system. What does the electrical system say? APU generator, 0%. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I missed something, but I'm trying to figure out what. Let's double check. These are good. Yeah, maybe I missed something with the batteries. I do think that I missed something over there. That was the one, likely. Oh. Now things are happening. Or not. Let's see. And then press the APU again. Let me see if we can start the APU. The APU should start, hopefully. And also I'm gonna skip this part because I think I'm taking too long of your time, and that is not what I want. That's not what I want. I'm still curious what I missed. Well, let's continue, right? Let's continue. Let's not take your time. So what you can do in these situations, if you are in the same situation as I am, you can simply go to the situation load, and you can say, hey, I want to quickly make sure that the aircraft in the state where the, let's say, APU is on. You press this option, that will be activated. You can also see that there is a default option over here where you can change the modes. I'm not switching on the engine yet. simply press this option ADRU plus APU on. What you will now likely see is that the APU starts to switch on. Pretty interesting that it now works, but hey, as mentioned, likely I missed something, but hey, always saved by the bell, in this case, saved by the EFB, which luckily has a lot of nice options. So going back to the checklist, you can see a lot of options over here, right? So likely we can check these items off now because we already checked them. Trucks are in place, park and brake, we can switch to off if we want. Park and brake, right? If we want to do that, we can remove it, and the park and brake can be found somewhere over here, if I'm correct. I'm overlooking it 100%. Let me switch off the park and brake using my nice controls, which I have. Here we go. Park and brake has been switched to off. Make sure that we're not, I would say, driving forward, because that's not what we want. And then you can continue with the next checklist, right? And this is how you can continue with the checklist, of course, until you're 100% ready and ready for pushback. So this is super cool, because the nice thing is that due to the fact that we already changed the modes, we kind of skip these steps already. Well, I'm gonna check a few things, right? We can set this to on and on. And that makes sure that we're going to the next one and continuing this as we speak. You can see you also can easily say unswitch them, right? Make sure that they're not used. You can see the checklists are pretty extensive, right? You can see it's really long. But let's make sure that we set everything correct. Here we are. And before starting the pushback, what we of course want to do is make sure the MCDU is populated. And that's also mentioned here, right? You need to make sure the MCDU is configured correctly. And the MCDU can be found over here. Unfortunately, there's no support yet for the Wing Sim MCDU. But as you can see here, it is a pretty nice system. Now, to exit more easily, you can always press the Shift 5, which I just played with. And then you can go to all those pages. You can go to the init phase, and you can then simply press request of init request. This, if you've got SimBrief, of course, then you can import it and simply import it like this. We'll give you some messages on the bottom. So let's see if it populated everything, right? So populate most of the things except the, oh, here you go. It imported everything. Let's say really impressive. This doesn't happen a lot. So we can check the other pages also if we want. Init, we're kind of good. Performance settings. And the performance settings, we can do one thing. We can, of course, go to the takeoff data and then use the TO request data. But you will likely see that you can't request it in some cases. That's also, in that case, say insert uplink. And let's wait. I would expect it to populate pretty soon. If it doesn't populate, we're going to put in everything manually, which is still doable. Right, we can get all these nice things from the EFB. Let me clear the message over here. Insert uplink. Oh, we're not allowed to do that. Well, that's takeoff request data. Why are we not allowed to request data? Well, then let's do it the other way around, which is if you go to the performance data, you can see this, right? You can see all the information over here. Config 2, trust, flex 68, 145, 157, 164, and 3.7 up. And you can simply put it in here if you want. So we're going to go to the perf and then simply put in those numbers, right? So put in those numbers, 145. You can do it using the digits over here, 145. And then 157. And then 164. So this is good. Then we're having the flaps need to be at up or 32 to slash up. Oh, And up was 3.7. Click the button here, flex 68. I made a typo, 68 was it, right? It says format error, not sure why it says format error. 68. Oh, not sure what that is, but let's leave it for now. And then we can press the clear button again, and then we can move on to the next phase if we want. But hey, for now, we're good, right? Because we don't need to put anything here. This is fine for us. So we can continue with the checklist and then, of course, take off, because that's what we want to do, right? You want to see the engine flying. You want to see this beast flying. So I'm going to make sure that we, say, set up everything correct. This is all what we done. External power off. You can always control those ground servers like here, right? You can simply set them to off. You can see that only currently the let's say chocks have been switched on. And the nice thing is that you can arrange the pushback via this EFB option. So super nice. So we're going to checklist again. Pushback clearance. Well, let's ask it, right? Let's go. Let's go. Turn to ground. And then request taxi IFR.
Tower on 120.905 when ready.
Taxiing, hold short runway 16 left via taxiway, Bravo Charlie, LH490 Lima Hotel, 490.
So good. And then we can call the ground services. We can request for pushback.
Seattle ground, LH490 Lima Hotel, 490, requesting pushback.
LH490 Lima Hotel 490, pushback request accepted.
Well, that's nice, right? We got pushback request accepted. Of course, we need to watch out that we're removing the overall things, right? Because the chocks are still on. So we need to remove the chocks. We can say start auto pushback also via this option. And then we can remove the chocks. And here you can also see that you can open the engine cowlings and put engine covers. That's also pretty cool. You can do that via this menu. So let's see if everything goes well. We should be pushed back in a few seconds. Right, we're lifted. You can look at the outside. This is the aircraft, right? Really a massive thing. You can still see that the pylons are, let's say, pretty close to the engines. So let's see what happens next. Let's see what happens next. Because I switched on the pushback, you can see distance and the tail. We can say tail to the right. So let's see if something is gonna happen somewhere. Come on. Parking brakes are off, so I would have expected it to say go back, but hey, it doesn't go back. Parking brakes are off, you can see. So push back, board, start. Maybe I should have paid a little bit more patience, but and also we're gonna use GSX because we still have GSX. Come on, push back. GSX. Maybe it's the combination of GSX and this is, I would say, causing the headaches. Normally this works. I mean, set the parking brakes on because else. And then I'm gonna say I need to go. Come on. No, I'm lost. No. 1. Let's close this 1. It almost feels that I would say the parking brakes are on, but actually the parking brakes are not on, to be honest.
Requesting pushback tug to steer the aircraft to the right.
LH490 Lima Hotel 490. Your request has been transmitted to the operator.
So we're gonna say, okay, hey, let's do it the other way. Let's open GSX again, because I'm looking at if it works. Yes. See, something weird is going on with pushback. So we're gonna prepare for pushback. I'm gonna say ASIC. Here we've got the truck. And now let's wait. I'm not sure what's going on, but it doesn't look good. Why not? Why is this happening? Right? If I want to live stream this part, I was hoping that everything would go well. Oh. Well, I'm also ready for pushback. So let's see. GSX should kick in soon. Right, the flight plan is there. You can see. Okay, we're making progress, my friends, we're making progress. Might take a little bit more time, but eventually we're coming there. It's pretty fun that they insta the bypass pin and now are, I'd say, coming close. So now we've got 2 pushback trucks. Pretty interesting. You can see what's happening. Now we're also being lifted. So let's see. Takes really long, as you can see. I'm not sure what's taking so long. I do think it's with the say pushback truck, which is stuck. Let's say we're gonna push with the nose left to right. So now we can start the engines, right? So starting the engines is really a matter of setting this one to start and then putting this one. Because I connected them to the same, I would say, controller, right? The same controller thing. It will start both engines at the same time, which is something which you might not want to do normally. But hey, this is it. And you can see that the pressure is, say, increasing. So everything fine. You can see the oil quantity is there. And if I don't say anything, you also hear that the engines will really start. You can also see that the engine levelers are not set to idle for some reason. And this might also be the case that it was doing weird because the engines are not in idle state. So maybe I need to re-throttle also my joystick, because there was something weird going on. So this idle. This is climb. MCT. Don't do this at home. To go. Maybe that was the issue. Yeah, because now you can see that the error message is gone, right? So the error message is now gone that the engines or the things were not in throttle. This the nose steering, right? I think nose wheel steering, that's where it says for. You can also see that the engines are currently in reverse mode. That's kind of weird, I know, but it has to do with some throttling. But believe me, at the end it will go pretty okay. So we need to set the parking brake again. So let's do that. Well, we didn't start all the engines yet, so let's also start the other ones. And let's wait till they started. You can also see that this is it's a increasing. But here you can see the message again, right? Engine, that they are not in idle state. So there's something weird going on. That's also why they are in reverse. Normally I would expect not to them to not be in reverse mode. So let's wait for the engine also to start correctly. You can hear the other engine also starting. EGT is increasing, as you can see. And now we can say yeah, we're gonna release this one, and we're gonna say stop here. So we're currently in a good state, well, at least, are we? I'm not so sure. Let's see where we need to travel to. Oh yeah, we're also pushed into the incorrect direction. This will be a challenge. Let me see if we can drive another way. Okay. So we're gonna I would say drive onto this one. So because else it won't work. So here we go. Everything is good. Everything is good. Let's switch on the taxi lights, of course. Strobes are on auto. The rest is okay. Now we're gonna move this one to taxi position if it allows us to do it. Here we go. Everybody's happy. Have a good trip. Thank you. Let's see if we can get this one running. So let's remove the parking brakes. And then let's see how far we come with this nice aircraft. Increase the speed a bit. Oh yeah, we didn't set the flaps correct. My bad. What's going on? Why doesn't it like us? Oh, I don't care for now. But I'm trying to figure out why it does not drive, because we want to drive forward, right? Looks like that something really weird is going on. I'm not sure what. I also don't think this is really good. Yeah. That's what I mentioned. So I'm gonna do it a different way, because I would say, to be honest, a little bit disappointed about how this went. And I think you are too. So let's go to the, in this case, let's go to the main menu. And then let's select that we're gonna depart from, in this case, the airport itself. So we're gonna do free flight mode again. We're gonna hit the tab sign. We're gonna make sure that we're loading that flight plan via SimBrief, which is there. We're gonna import the route. And then the login has expired. Always fun. Everything what can go wrong goes wrong today. And that's of course not what I like, and I hope that next time it will go better. In this stream we're watching the A340, so everything is there, right? So let's go. We are redirected to the ramp cargo on Frankfurt, also pretty interesting. So let's see if it works. Let's see if we can get it working. Loading will always take some time. We're live more than an hour, and we didn't even take airborne. We're not even airborne. Really bad. That's due to some issues which we encountered. First, flight simulator crashed. Then, say the second part is that the aircraft didn't really work well, because there are some issues with the throttle for some reason, which worked perfectly yesterday. Maybe there's a new sim update which is causing this issue. Let's see. Let's see if we can get airborne in a few seconds. Because this is of course not what I would like you to show you. I would like to show you how it works. And I'm kind of disappointed that it doesn't work the way I want it to work. So as you can see, it's currently loading Flight Simulator. It's almost done. You can see that Flight Simulator loads, which is nice. And now we're gonna fly using that nice A330 from Aerosoft, which has been released yesterday. So the flight plan should be already imported. So that's always nice. If it didn't do it, which is always a chance, then we need to, say, do it normally.
490 at runway 16 left, ready for departure. IFR to Frankfurt.
Yeah, so we need to import this, because you can see that it didn't import those settings. But we're going to do that quickly, and then we should be good to go. Because from a previous setup, right, we know that everything has been loaded automatically, which is of course super nice. So let's wait. Init request. Also no flight plan. As mentioned already, everything which can go wrong goes wrong. So let's see if it loads the flight plan. Init request over here. And also I'm gonna do it a different way, because as always the SimBrief way, import the route. And then we go to this option, and then say send to ATC and avionics. I'm gonna try it one more time. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna simply take off, because I want to show you how it works. because here it says I can download it, but it doesn't do anything. As you can see, nothing is being imported. Well, in that case, I will simply say, let's give it a try, because I'm not gonna wait any longer, because we can simply take off. So we're gonna remove the parking brakes and then see what happens. Turn slowly. Because we already got approval to take off, if I'm correct. Yeah. Can push the aircraft a little bit harder. And likely you will hear a lot of alarms because I didn't set up it completely, because we needed to restart because the aircraft was crashing into the terminal building due to the fact that the throttles were not working 100%. So here we go. Without any flight plan. Yes, not the best practice, I know. But hey, the machine doesn't like it. There's someone over there. Move away, Delta Airlines. Here we come with Lufthansa. We want to fly. And this is the part where you need to be careful. Remember that we discussed about the strike. This aircraft is super long. Gears up. So watch out a bit that we're not climbing too fast. And then increase the speed a bit here. Yeah, I know, speed. Let's see if the autopilot is working. So we're climbing, as you can see. You can switch it to this mode. Because we didn't load a flight plan, we of course could say try multiple things, but in this case the flight plan didn't like to load for some reason. As you can see, I can press everything I want, but it says not allowed. I do think it has to do with the case that you're only allowed to load the flight plan once you're, let's say, on the gate, on the parking spot, because that's the only reason I can think of that it is not working for some reason. You can also see that the
transponder appears inoperative or malfunctioning. Reset squawk 1542.
1-4. So it's challenging, right? If the thing is behind it, it's 1542.
LH490 Hotel 490. Your transponder appears inoperative or malfunctioning. Reset squawk 1542.
What we just did. And this is always a challenge, to be honest. If it doesn't work, and then you are sometimes being challenged by these kind of issues. As you can see, now we're airborne and everything works as we speak. And this is where you can do a lot of nice things, right? You can also create false scenarios, which I discussed earlier. So you can, for example, say, hey, I want to have a random fault where the engine simply stops. I want to have some other things happening. So that's really nice. For now I would say, yeah, we can continue to fly, of course, to a destination. My initial plan was to fly from Seattle to Frankfurt using this nice aircraft to do some testing with it, but as you probably have seen, there were some issues which prevent us from doing a lot of nice things, which is not really cool. Also, it has to do with some things which I would say I'm unaware of because I'm really new to this aircraft, still learning it, which also I'd say maybe my own fault a bit. So I will need to train a little bit further to see, okay, how this one is working. But I did fly yesterday a little bit with it, and today also, and I must say I really like it. Right, it's a super nice aircraft. I can say you can fly a lot of things. Right, you can say the autopilot works perfectly. So pretty cool that they have released this to Flight Simulator. So let's see if we can switch on the heading mode. Here we go. Also looks like to work. Gears are up. Landing gear, right landing gear, gravity extension is also here. I'm not sure where it's used for, but we'll figure that out in the near future. From the outside it looks like this. So this is the aircraft. As you can see, it's a huge one. 4 engines, or smaller engines compared to the 777. And we just did take off from Seattle Airport. Some stuttering happening, but hey, not a huge issue. Oh, stutter. Should have not mentioned it, right? I'm jinxing it. Can see that in this case no nav intercept. There are a lot of, say, things which are prohibited, and to be honest, that's really nicely done, right? Because it doesn't allow me to select certain items when I'm airborne. Of course, I can select the direct options if I want to go direct to. So I can say, hey, I want to go to Kasea, right, which is Seattle Airport. Let me get rid of that clear button. Well, let's not say Seattle Airport, doesn't make sense, right? Let's go to Novar in this case. Trying it again. N-O-V-A-R. Not allowed. I'm not sure what's going on with this aircraft, but nothing is allowed. It doesn't allow me to do anything. Why not? There's also no waypoints, right? Nothing is allowed. So I'm unlucky today. Nothing is allowed in the aircraft. Well, it works, finally. So we've been airborne for a very short while, but I also do think that it might not make sense to fly too long with this one, because you can see that there are some things which are either working differently than normal or should work different than I expect. Finally we can add in SIA, but no, let's not do that. Let's hit the tab sign again and then go to, in this case, Me2. And then say insert. So now we can switch to navigation mode, and that also looks like to work, right? So you can see that the autopilot works. We can see that the say aircraft also works. Also the terrain also nicely being shown. We're not flying too high, right? We're climbing to 10,000 feet. Aircraft has a lot of options. There are some, let's say, things which are, I would say, challenging, and one of those things which is challenging is that there's no checklist over here, right? You really need to use a checklist. Even if you set it to expert, there's nothing here. So what you need to do is really use the checklist from this menu, which is nice, but also has one disadvantage, that you can't see where these instrument things are located. If you press it, you can only check these list items off, but you can't see where those items are. So that's really, if you're new to the aircraft, will likely require you a lot of time between brackets to discover, hey, where are these items? Where's for example the backflow normal? Where can I find the emergency exit? Where can I find the fuel tanks? Those are things which I do expect you to, let's say, need some time to figure out where they are. But hey, that's the fun of Flight Simulator, right? It's always cool to use these items, because you can figure out, hey, what's working, what's not working, and how can I use this nice aircraft. And I'll see it over here. We can see some options. So it looks pretty nice, flying pretty well, nothing weird happening as we speak. So pretty stable aircraft currently. So let's switch to the other options. You can also see that this works perfectly. Switching to standard mode. And we also need to do it here. You can see the mountains. Just bypass Seattle again. Here's the city of Seattle. So a few things. The pushback works a little bit weird. Could also be similar to number 5. Then after that we had some throttle issues. And now we're finally airborne after a very long time. We did an external review, we did an internal review, we looked at all the instruments a bit right where they are. I think it was pretty nice, but the takeoff was a little bit disastrous, right? We crashed into the terminal building because the throttle wasn't working perfectly. But now we're we took off from the runway and that worked pretty nice. So not the video I wanted to create. I want to create a little more, a nicer flow, but it didn't work the way out. So sorry for that. This is where we're gonna end this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, or if you got any questions, then feel free to drop them in the comment box below this video. And I hope to see you back during the next live stream, which will be very soon. So keep an eye on my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you back next time.
50 LH 490 Lima Hotel 490.